What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Brittany with oh my God, I've never done that before. Are you guys happy that I messed up my intro? I'm sure you guys are all dying out there listening. But what's up, guys? Welcome to the Free Lady Show. I'm your host, Brittney McWethy. And today we have a really special guest, Travis Kennedy. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm good. How are you this evening?
Hey, I'm good. It's a nice little Thursday. It's hot as shit out here, but
It is warm here too. It is very warm.
It's so warm. But did you I guess 4th of July was the hottest the globe has ever been.
Huh. It wasn't too crazy here. Like it was probably
Right.
90s, which is about average for San Diego this time of year.
Yeah. I mean, it was like high, like in the 90s, but it wasn't like crazy. But I guess as a whole, the earth was at the hottest temperature it's ever been. And you're just like, dang, because we've had the snowmageddon here in Utah. We've had wetter months in like Colorado. Colorado's still getting hailed on like crazy.
We had crazy cold weather too, like totally abnormal, not normal.
Oh, really?
We didn't get sun until about 3 weeks ago, which is unheard of for San Diego. Like it's all sunny here.
Right. And I'm originally from Ventura, California. If you guys don't know that, that's originally where I'm from. And so we have like May gray, June gloom, all the freaking, I hate fog. And I guess it had been foggy there for straight 4 months. And everyone was like, what is this? Like, it's super, super weird. And like, fog just makes me go into a very dark place. Like especially in California, like it's not just like fog, it just makes everything look real gray, guys.
Yeah. So, everyone's all just down and it's just the mood.
Yeah, man. Dude, it's like, where's my sunshine? And if you guys are listening, please write in the comments, how have you guys been feeling in this crazy weather? Like, what have you guys been going through? What are the things that you have done if you've been living in straight fog for 4 months? What brings you joy? Like, what about you? Like, how did you get through all these months without having sun?
We try not to spend time in the house. I mean, regardless of sun or not, we're trying to get out. Like I really have a hard time not doing something with my free time. Like, I really struggle with that. So we were always just like, you know what, we'll put a jacket on, we'll head to the mountains, we'll still go hike. Maybe we'll drive down to the desert and go shooting because it's almost guaranteed to be sunny in the desert. Or
there you go.
We're just constantly trying to do things to not let it bring you down unless it was raining. Once it's raining, it's kind of like you're a little stuck, but even then we got raincoats, right? You just get out. I just force let's get out of the house. Like or we'll play games. It's just you gotta stay interactive for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are good tips, you guys, like when things are really shitty outside, because I know like I do not do well if I see fog for like 2 days now. I'm like so like I will actually like go in a tanning bed and just like have something because it just, you know what I mean? Or any kind of like sunlight, people, my friends in Montana do that. Like and then just getting outside, it just having the fresh air. Yep.
So we use red lights around the house. Like if you gotta artificially have some sunlight for the day, we get the red lights out. But as long as you're getting some sort of sun, even through the clouds in your eyes, like it just does something.
Exactly. So I love that. I love that you guys do that. So let's get into it, Travis. Tell everyone, who are you and what do you do?
I am a father and husband. That's the most priority I have, is being a father and a husband. My daughter is 11 years old. The wife and I have been married about 5 years now. Been together for 10. I'm a VP of operations for a steel case furniture manufacturer. So we do like hospitals, schools, high rises, all the cubicle furniture, walls, audio visual. We completely outfit offices is what we do.
Okay.
And then I also have a woodworking business where I make custom charcuterie boards, cigar ashtrays, like the epoxy wood tables and conference tables. And I do a lot of just custom woodwork, which is, it's like a transition between, is it a hobby or is it going to make me money? I'm in that right now. And then the wife and I actually started a podcast this year, which has been our newest in Denver. So that's been pretty fun.
That's cool. And that's the Kennedy Corner.
That's the Kennedy Corner. Yeah.
That's super cool. What is that about?
We created it to help us in communication about topics a lot, really, what it came to. Because I'm a talker. I like to talk. I have to talk things out. I want to discuss things. I do it at work. I coach people at work. I coach men on the side. And my wife and I coach each other a ton, right? We've both had some crazy life experiences. So when things come up in our marriage, we've learned that just a discussion tends to be the best avenue.
Right.
That came from actually being part of Lions Den for me. But what we did is we said, okay, we've had all these cool discussions, and we talked to couples, and we talked to other men, we talked to women, and they've always said, you guys need to have a podcast and put these topics out there.
Yeah.
So Googled it, how do you do it? Bought all the equipment, bought the things, and we just literally hit record, and I don't edit them. I don't cut them. I don't chop anything out. Yeah, like what you get in our podcast is 100% honest conversation, how we just chat.
Love it.
There's been a few conversations where I'm like, I wish we had the mics on for this one because it was so good, but
right.
Yeah, and you don't want to recreate it. You want to try to force anything. So
yeah,
it's been fun though. It's very intimidating to
Oh, dude, yes.
Put yourself out there to just be judged in every aspect on this like grand scale, right?
Right. But that's the thing, going into it, you are going to be judged, and you get judged by people you never thought would judge you. And it kind of is crushing a little bit, because these people can be family members, and you're just like, it's kind of mind-boggling, but at the same time, that means we're doing the right thing, because the bigger picture, we know what the bigger picture is. And if we stay focused on what our bigger picture is, eventually, those other people will see those, and hope, in hopes that they will see, or they're just not going to be in your inner circle anymore. And it's really, really hard. I absolutely understand that. But I think it's,
sorry, go ahead.
No, it's totally fine. I was just going to say, I think it's great that you understood, you listened, and you heard, and you created this podcast to share topics with other people that are married and going through a hard time, because, relationships are so hard, because sometimes one person is down and the other person is up, and it's like, okay, like I gotta be up right now. And then, and those times are super, super hard, but that's where you grow the most. And I'm sure that's what you guys share. And that's just unreal. So I got to listen to it. I haven't had a chance to listen to your podcast yet. It's on my list. But I think it's just awesome that you do that. And I know that it probably really connects you guys together a lot more.
Yeah. So a lot of, we're a typical couple that went through some crazy struggles, and we both have really wild backgrounds. We're very open and candid with it. This is going to be like a really open conversation today as well. Yes. My wife was raped at like 13, right? Crazy childhood, divorced parents.
Oh my God.
Her sister was kind of out there and tried to commit suicide, and her brother recently OD'd at 21, and wild stories, right? I grew up kind of similar. My dad left before I was born, didn't really have a father, abusive stepdad. I was homeless at one point. The most traumatic experience, there's a shit ton between these, but just giving like quick hits. I lost my mom in a really traumatic manner. She was hit by a car right in front of me.
Yeah.
I lost her giving her CPR. So Julie and I were together at that time. And in that moment, in that time, it really shifted everything in our life. Yeah. So it shifted the ego, it shifted the anger, it shifted the jealousy mindset, and why are you so worried about tomorrow? And we can't change yesterday. Like, it really forced us into this place of healing, but down a rabbit hole together. It's like we were walking together on our own path. To heal, right? So we've been doing a ton of work on ourselves and learning about ourselves and learning about toxic people and even the close people and all these crazy things. So when we coach people, and we tell people, it comes from a place like very similar to Sean. I'm not going to say this, but I understand what you're going through. It may not be the same thing, but it's
Right.
something that I get. Here's
Right.
what we did. Here's what we learned. And the more we've told our story, it's almost given permission to people to not let their story define them.
Yeah.
Right? Just because you have chaos and things doesn't mean you have to stay there. You can be better. You can do better, right? Statistically speaking, I should be a junkie on the street and poor, but I'm not. I'm running an $8 million company,
same.
right? Like,
yeah,
the power of choice that people don't understand or grasp until you share your story, it's just impactful to share. And that really is what drove our podcast. And we're
right.
wildly open, we're wildly vulnerable. We talk about every topic that we can think of, and it just flows. Like it's just from an honest place. And talked about our walk with God and all the different stuff, you know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that was so much of,
Sorry,
you
I
know,
know.
no, don't be sorry. I think I was very emotional listening to that because, you know, my dad died 16 years ago. I'm the oldest of 5, and they were in Colorado. I was in California at the time. And, the hospital, turned him away because he didn't have health insurance. But thank God I had the relationship with God that it was just whatever it is, it was meant to be, you know, we're all okay for the most part now. But he died at home, and my mom tried to give him CPR in front of my 4 younger siblings. And that image doesn't come in my mind as often as it used to, but I literally can see it. I can feel it. And it's just, and you do, like, you feel like you are going to be so angry with God. Like, okay, like, I understand you had to take him and be an angel, but why did you have to let your kids see that? Why, did your mom die in front of you? It's like, these questions can be so pounded into your mindset that you either will go the wrong way, or you will just have to bear down and, start that healing process.
It's an interesting place to be.
Yeah.
To have to forgive God.
Yeah.
Like, to be in a place where I remember being at the hospital, and I knew she was gone at that point. Her fiance had gotten hit by a car at the same time, and he survived, and we're at the hospital. And I remember that I made them open the chapel for me. It's like 2 a.m. Security's like, chapel's locked. I'm like, we're going to need you to open the chapel tonight. Like, and the doctor's like, you need to take him because you don't know what he just did. And I just went by myself. And I remember sitting in the chapel, like, literally looking. This was like a turning point in my faith, I should say. Before that, I had a quote unquote relationship. But it was a turning point with me where I remember sitting in this chapel by myself in a hospital. And it was literally, I just remember saying, God, you better have a fucking hell of a reason for this one. Like, I don't know what it is, but I'm going to walk in faith with you as of today, because I have to believe this has a purpose. This has a path for me. This has a lesson. This has something, because there's no way you would put a human being through these things without a purpose. There has to be something.
Right.
That was it. Shift. I mean, I grew the beard to never forget the man I became, because that's how drastic the change was. Like, it was wild.
Wow.
Different person, different man, different father, different work, everything.
And that was the purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have no doubt my mom gave her life for me to figure my life out.
Right.
There's no question.
Right. And it's really beautiful that you can see that, because, there are family members in my family that, are still very stuck and very lost. And, but most of us have really excelled and, like, found their purpose finally. And it's so beautiful to see. And that's kind of where I also felt too, like, having these 4 younger siblings, and they came back. 2 of them came back to California with my mom. The other 2 stayed in Colorado by themselves. And at that time or that age, I didn't realize how, horrible that was for my brothers to be by themselves in Colorado, just like your family up and left, Um, and I've talked to my brother, one of my brothers too. He's like, I didn't, I felt all these things and he just didn't know how to say them, and so, but I've always been like very spiritual, even with being shamed, in my church for, a long time ago when I grew up in the church, and a lot of my audience already knows that, but, and it was like really hard for me to say God and all these things, but I knew that there was always a reason. I never looked at it as a purpose. I just always knew there was a reason. And, that reason was just for us to reconnect as a family, even though we're not like super connected right now. You know what I mean? It just is what it is, but it's like,
that's
you
every
always
family.
just have to, I don't know why I could have done so many things, but I did not want to be angry. I mean, I was real angry at the hospital. I was angry at the doctors and the nurses that, at the end of the day, after a year of being in court, my mom had to sit through all those things. And at the end of the day, the nurses were like, yeah, we were told to turn him away because he didn't have health insurance. And so I'm like, those bitches never get to practice again. Yeah. And that can go down a whole rabbit hole, right? Of like our society now with like health insurance, and like there's so many amazing nurses and doctors out there that actually do care, but they are very hard to find. Very hard to find. And that is not okay, that's like a whole nother story, but through all those things is where you find your purpose. And when you have God, on your side, you understand that. And therefore he gives you strength to work out all the traumatic feelings that come with losing somebody. I mean, do you feel like the things that happen in your childhood, like being abused by your stepdad, being homeless, those are hard things to go through and live through, and you seem like you stayed pretty strong. Do you think like those things were setting you up to be strong for having to lose your mom like that?
I believe everything has a test. Like when you're being pressured, there's a reason you're being pressured, right? Every test that you're put through is meant to prepare you for something. The chaos that was my childhood and teenage years and the normal 20s and all those things, I think all of it prepared me for not having my mom. So my mom was like my best friend. Like literally, she was 20 when she had me. So like I grew up with my mom in a lot of ways. So to say we were close is like an understatement. But because of her, I learned how to be strong at the same time. Like she was a single mother. She raised me as a man. She taught me manners. She taught me appropriate things. She taught me how to treat women. She didn't always make the best choice in men, but she at my foundation, my core, she gave me my core values and my core beliefs and taught me how to always keep pushing forward. There was no quit. It didn't matter how hard it got. And it's funny because I really didn't grow up in the church, but my mom was like, God is everything, right? I mean, I was always astonished at the amount of faith that she had, because I went through that phase of, if God is so good, why does this suck? Right? Which I don't think anyone doesn't have that moment sometimes.
Oh yeah, we all do.
If God is so great and does all these good things, why am I homeless? Because I chose to be homeless. That's why I'm fucking homeless. But because of her strength and her foundation in this, and we did a lot of, we went through a lot of stuff, but I always knew that it would end. I just, in my head, like I always know the bad is going to end at some point. So it's going to suck. It's going to hurt. You're going to get a lesson out of this. And because of all of that grew me my entire life growing up, when it happened with my mom, I almost became calm, which my wife will tell you, if she's probably home, she would tell you, she waited for me to snap for like a year.
Wow.
She was just waiting for that, like, when's it gonna come? Like, when's the anger gonna come? When is this going to happen? And I had moments. I mean, we all have moments and we all have spouts, but I never let it consume me, because to let it consume me means the devil won.
Right.
In my opinion.
Right.
If I let it take over my life, then what the purpose of it was to win. That's not the purpose, right? My purpose was something greater. And I believe that in my heart. I still believe in my heart I'm meant to do way better and more than I do now. I have in my heart, I'm meant to speak on a stage. I'm meant to speak at my church. I have this in my heart to tell my story. And that's always been in the back of my head. And that gave me all of the power, not to mention my daughter and my wife.
Right.
I was blessed beyond means to, it sucks because my wife went through it with me.
Right.
But doing it together made our bond and our marriage and everything like an unexplainable, I will never give up on our marriage type of mentality. But it also shined a lot of light on things we had to work on.
Right.
So it's good.
Yeah.
It's like the good and the bad. And it taught me down the rabbit hole of talking about my inner child. And, we started trying mushrooms to like try to get deeper, and like
all
the
man
experiences we've done together, it's
all
stems from that one evening that I could, like you said, left or right, because you could be angry
forever,
super fast.
Yes.
Super fast. And no one would blame you.
Right.
That's the crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, your wife, like you guys got to relate on certain things, like you got to relate on how you guys were brought up. And I feel like those types of things, it's not really, there's people that talk about when they get into relationships because it's trauma bonding. You guys got into a relationship being you, having the same experience and backgrounds, getting together, and then you got hit with a traumatic experience together.
Yeah.
And if anything, it showed you your purpose. It brought God in your heart. It shined a light on what more you need to work on. And it also probably gave you a more of a purpose to be a better husband, to be a better, father, because if you let the devil win, guess what? You probably would have lost your family.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, it's like we've coached each other. Right. And that's why the podcast made sense. My story made her go, was my life that bad? And then her story made me go, I can't believe you're strong enough to make, like, we feed each other. And I don't know where exactly I got it, but it's like everyone talks about being single and not being in a relationship because it's super easy, because all your baggage you don't have to address, right? As soon as you're in a relationship, all of your baggage is exposed and all your chaos and all your problems are exposed. But it's the ladder analogy. Have you heard the ladder one?
I haven't in a long time. So explain it to the audience also.
The premise is you're always climbing a ladder in your life, right?
Right.
So everyone climbs their ladder, but when you get married, you don't climb on the other person's ladder. You stay on your ladder, but now there's a rubber band. There's a rubber band between the two of you.
Yeah.
And as you're climbing your ladder and bettering yourself or whatever, the idea is that if one person starts to climb their ladder faster, the other person feels tension on the rubber band.
Right.
Now you can do a couple things with that tension. You can let your ego say, oh, they just think they're better, or I don't need to get better, or whatever you decide to not pay attention to that tension. And what will happen is your wife or your husband will start to outpace you, and eventually that rubber band breaks.
Right.
Now, you can repair a rubber band, but it takes the person on the lower level to really do some work, right?
Right.
It's like cheating. Cheating snaps a rubber band.
Right.
You can come back from things like that, but it takes a lot of work, which is why a lot of people give up, because to admit I have to do work to keep up with you is somewhat of an ego hit, right? Your ego's like, I don't need that.
Right.
So our relationship, there was a point where even after my mom's passing, my wife has continued to always do more work. She's the one that went and got a professional counselor to try to help her through things. She went back to school to be a holistic practitioner.
Oh,
She
wow.
specializes in women's hormones and all the parasite cleanses, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, but
That's so cool.
we can get into what she does because I think you'll like it.
Yeah,
But,
probably.
she was doing all this work, and I had done so much change after my mom's passing.
Right.
My ego's like, I'm perfect. What are you talking about? Right.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not even remotely the person I used to be. Why are you telling me I need to do more?
Right.
And I started to feel the rubber band, and led me to Lions Den, led me to Sean, and literally redefined my story. I always like to say I never used my story as an excuse because I had achieved all these goals that I shouldn't have achieved. What I didn't realize was I was stuck in the story.
Oh, man.
And you listen to Sean's story, and in my head, I'm like, I had all these shit things that went wrong, but I've done really well.
Right.
I listen to Sean's story, and my story's a lot like Sean's, and he's done a lot fucking better than me. And
Right.
I'm allowing my story to put a ceiling on my goals.
Right.
So it shifted my mindset, and I went full bore reading books, and then I found Jesus and like all this crazy stuff. And now it's like we're even on the ladders finally. Like we're there. We're good.
Yeah. It's kind of like what Sean, was talking about, how you have to leave good to be great.
Yeah.
When you were sitting there, like, I'm good, I'm good, but like good is comfortable. And
Absolutely.
as hard as that is to admit, like even I struggle with that. I'm like, fuck, like I still got to keep pushing. I still have to have that consistency because every day is a battle. Like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Why me? But if not me, then who is it going to be? If not you, Travis, who's it going to be? Like on something else Sean talks about. And I remember when he said this a couple months ago, when he almost closed the den down, was when he talked about you have to leave good to be great. And I never let that leave out of my head. I always go back and think about that because I'm like, okay, like I do get stuck in my head. We all get stuck in our head. And it's only down to us and our minds that make us stuck.
Yeah.
And when we have these groups like that and we invest in ourselves to find how to get unstuck, that roof that you were talking about comes off because we learn from each other. Yeah. And I think, that's why I struggle seeing people all the time. It's like I've asked so many people, for example, Sean's coaching group was $47. Anybody can spend $47. You spend $47 on alcohol or drinks or your special coffees or like whatever, like, and some people have told me, oh, I don't know if that's for me. Like, it's because you're comfortable.
At the same time, $47 to find out.
Yeah.
$47. Find out. It's not for you.
Exactly.
Lost $47. Like, who fucking cares?
Right.
But the den was one of the first times I made a true, honest, Travis only investment into myself. It was the first time I made the investment in myself. And it's funny because I went into the den kind of thinking like, I'm going to get some business stuff and I'm going to learn how to be an entrepreneur and all these things. And I found everything but that. Like how to be a better husband, how to be a better, how to challenge my mindset, how to get rid of my stories. Like it almost pissed me off because it was like, how can it be that easy? Right? Like it can't be that easy. And I think that's some of the frustration when people listen to all these coaching groups and stuff. It's like, Sean is like, it's this easy. And you're like, no way. It can't be that easy. It can't be that easy because if it's that fucking easy, why am I stuck?
Right.
But it's just that easy. But I found in the group everything that I didn't expect to find, including people. I've made a ton of friends in the group. The Lions Den Live was insane. Like the lessons I've learned to be a better husband and be present and the core fours and all these things and take your health seriously and being an example for my daughter because I'm changing. I'm the one in my family. We were poor. My daughter will not know what that is. Like I'm the catalyst, right? But to have someone successful understand and just make the mindset that easy by just doing these things, it's like $47. I'd gather change to figure that out.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
we were
Because of what you know now. Yeah. I mean,
there's
the
no
Lions
change.
Den was the first thing I've ever invested in myself too, you know, and this is the game that we are playing. This is what Sean teaches us so we can become leaders in, you know, other people's lives, like your podcast and what you're doing and what I'm doing. It's like we want so much for people to see this. You know, people talk so much shit about Sean. People talk so much shit about so many people when if you actually took a step out of your ego and listen, you're like, fuck, this guy actually wants us to win, wants us to be successful. But the game is that you will go in there thinking what you just said, like, oh man, I'm going to come in here just so I can be a millionaire. No, bitch, you're going to come in here and unpeel the onion in all aspects of your life to learn about yourself, to learn about how you love yourself, how your relationships are around you. Are they inspiring you to be the best that you can be? Are they pushing you to the next level? Where is your mindset?
Yeah.
You know, what are you doing every day in your daily routine to start that mindset into the most powerful badass that you can be? Your business is everything. And it is really easy, but we are so programmed to think that it's not. And I mean, I battle with that still. This is why I have this podcast. This is why I'm starting a coaching group, because I'm in this journey with you. And that's, you know, Sean, what he says all the time. He's like, yeah, I'm here now, but I'm still in this journey with you. I'm just like you.
Yeah.
Because we're all God's children.
100%. And your story's all on purpose, right? It's so crazy. It's like Sean says, you can Google whatever you want, but you can't Google mindset. You can't Google your drive. You can't buy success because success is a mindset. Success is a choice and an effort, and it's not fucking easy. Everyone wants easy. We live in the microwave generation where it's like, I can get my order tomorrow. Why can't I be a millionaire tomorrow? Why can't I have 1,000 followers? Like, it's all these crazy, lazy mindset in my peripheral. Like I deal with it with employees all day long. It's like, and they just want the pay. They want my job. They want these things. I'm like, I started 17 years ago unloading a fucking trailer. And I busted my ass to get to where I'm at. Not because it was given to me, not like I had to earn that and that mindset, but learning that really is the only difference in where I'm at to get to where you want to be. It's like, it was a very humbling experience when I joined the band. It was very humbling.
Right.
It shined a lot of light on, I'm back at why are you homeless? Because I chose to be. Why are you poor? Because you choose to be. Why do you live paycheck to paycheck? Because you choose to.
Right.
It's easy.
Right.
So it's pretty wild.
When you were homeless, you know, like what age were you? How long were you homeless? How did you get there?
I was 19, 20, right in that age range. I moved out when I was 17. I actually left high school early, took my test. I became the man of the house at kind of a young age, so I worked a lot through high school. And I had a hard time. School was boring because it was too easy.
Right.
Frankly, I'm not saying that in an arrogant manner. School was stupid. Like, the teachers were teaching me nothing. Like,
well, it is stupid still. Like,
the finals, I'd ace all the finals, and I'd never go to class. Like, you can't tell me
like my brother.
Hard. Like, you can't tell me school's hard if I need to go to class every day, but I can only show up one day a week and still pass your test. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
So I really struggled with the mindset of sitting in class, knowing I'm not going to go to college more than likely. So I could be out there working already.
Right.
Construction, my whole family was construction, super easy to go. So I actually was traveling the US doing the Motel 6s back in the day with the whole, we'll leave the light on for you.
Yeah.
I was part of the crew traveling the US at like 17, 18, remodeling all the Motel 6s. So when I got back, this is like another weird story, but my uncle was one of the largest coke dealers in Southern California.
Holy shit.
I grew up like hanging out the Hells Angels house, like in chaos, right? So mom and dad were crazy, but my uncles were also, my whole family is just very involved with a lot of things.
Right.
He got popped for a second time and was living with my mom and I. He had told my mom at the time, don't worry about rent. I'm taking care of it. Just give me what you can and don't worry about it. Fast forward like 6 months, and all of a sudden he goes to his court date, and they're like, you're going to jail. That next day, the landlord knocks on the door, says, hey, Robert hasn't paid me rent in 6 months. So my uncle was taking my mom's money, paying for his lawyers.
Shit.
So all of a sudden in 30 days, we're like, what the fuck, right?
Right.
Single mom. My sister at that time had already moved to, I think she had moved to New York with my stepdad, with her dad. Yeah. And my mom was gonna move to Texas with her mom to just get away from it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was working and I was doing things at the time. And about 6 months after she left, I snapped my arm in half. Arm wrestling drunk, like totally done. Yeah. Snapped my arm in half, and I was instantly out of work, instantly out of everything.
Oh my God.
Kind of bounced around with girlfriends and friends and did all those things. And
right.
I went to Texas for a couple months with my mom. And I couldn't stay there. Like I just couldn't. I knew Texas wasn't where I wanted to be.
Right.
Thankfully I didn't, because I have what I have, but at the same time, it's like I probably should have just stayed in Texas. But came home and thought I'll figure it out. And my friend of mine gave me a car, and I got a job, but I couldn't afford anything, couldn't do these things. So I just slept in my car for like 6 or 7 months. I'd get up every morning and go to the park and brush my teeth and shave and go to work. And then all my clothes were in my car. And my girlfriend at the time knew I was homeless, but her dad wouldn't let me stay, which is fine.
Right.
And then, to be honest, a lot of ego.
Yeah.
They want to ask for help. Wasn't going to tell my friends. Like none of my friends really knew, like, yeah, I didn't have bad friends that wouldn't be like, hey, come stay on my couch. But I was too proud. I wasn't asked.
Yeah. And it's kind of almost like embarrassing too. Like, like I don't need help. I am going to get through this. And
that was my mindset.
It's not that part of the ego, like knowing that you're going to get through it. That part's not bad, but I definitely understand that because how, things that were going on in my life, like I struggled asking for help. Like I've always struggled with that because I don't want anyone to help me because I'm always wanting to prove that like, that I can do this. And now that has turned into a better ego of like, yes, I can do this. And I do this because of love and wanting to help people instead of like, I can do this because it's for me. Like, I'm going to show you up. So it kind of changes, and it's interesting. It's an interesting dynamic, to learn that.
There was a little bit in me though, that was like, in a lot of ways, everyone except for my mom was like, you're going to be nothing. So when I was actually nothing, it was like, fuck, they're right. Like you have this like,
oh yeah.
Shit. Yeah. So my pride and my ego was like, we're not going to tell anyone because you're going to prove them wrong. You're going to prove them wrong. You're not going to stand it. You're not going to get it. So there was a lot of like inner battle with that. And it actually hit a head when I was at work, and one of the guys at work's like, hey, can you drive me to go grab lunch? Cool, I'll take you. And he looks and he turns around. He's like, what is all that? I'm like, oh, it's my clothes. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I live in my car. And he's like, what? Like, you've been working here for like 6 months and you said, I'm like, no, it's not something I talk about. And he was a friend that was kind of a new friend, and he was first one was like, come stay at my house. And was like my little ladder, that the rope he threw down the hole, it pulled me out. So
yeah, that's super cool. But it's also, like, so I have one of my brothers, he actually was homeless for a little while because he just didn't know what he was going to do. He was still, you know, he has made like really, really good money in the movie industry, like TV industry. He's an amazing cinematographer. He's an amazing photographer, but he never wanted to just be sitting in like doing television, like it's 18-hour days, like 6 days a week. It like sucks the life out of you. And his photography skills are so beautiful. And so anyways, there was a time when he was just like, I don't know what I want to do. And he doesn't like spending money. So he just slept in his car.
Yeah.
And he would just sleep in different places, and and he didn't want to stay with anybody, not even me. And I don't think I was living in Ventura actually at that time, but or I would have had him stay with me. But he's like, I just worked out a lot and I took showers at the gym, and and he figured it out. And I think he did that for like 2 months. And it's a humbling thing. And now, he just got finished working the Sundance Film Festival.
That's awesome.
In photography, like he sent us a picture today of Chong smoking a joint on the red carpet, and this facial expression and the energy that he captured, you're just like, look at you now. Like, I'm so proud of him. Like,
awesome.
I mean, because for years, these last 16 years, he has felt like, I'm not good at anything. Yeah. I'm not good at anything. Yeah. But he never stopped, doing photography. You never stopped working, and just getting through that.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because going back to like not wanting to tell people, the second part, I didn't want the sympathy. I didn't want
right.
I feel so sorry for you, like shit. And I never told people about my life for the longest time because of that.
Yeah.
I was married to my now ex-wife. Mm-hmm. I'd argue she barely even knew who I was, because I was still so ashamed, or I didn't want the sympathy of my story, that I didn't share with people. I wouldn't open up with people. And right. It wasn't until my wife, and it's actually because of my mom. My mom is the one that told my now wife everything. So there's that. So
thank you, Mom.
Yeah, it totally exposed me for, you're not just a guy that's successful, but you've been through some shit to get there.
Right.
And it was like in those times of my aha moments of, people don't realize what you go through to get where you're at. And sometimes, go back to like what I said, me telling my story has given some of my friends permission to not allow their life or excuses to dictate their future, because they're like, if Travis can do that, I can do this. And it's humbling to know that you can make an impact just by sharing your story.
I know.
And just living your life so that people can see it and you share it. It's a hard pill to swallow, because I still struggle, like, why me? Like,
right.
Just my life. Like, that's not that crazy. But when you actually tell your story, people are just like, you went through what?
I know.
You're where? Like, I graduated high school, first person in my family. I did go to college a little bit, waste of money. First person to buy my house in my family, like all these things that I've reached, and it's because of what I went through. So right. I don't know. It's humbling to tell a story. It's very scary to tell my truth and my stuff, but the more I've done it, the more I've seen how much it helps others, including my wife, and vice versa. Like, this cliche, but if you have a fucking story, tell your story, because you never know who you're going to impact. Like, you just don't.
Right. My first episode here is telling my story, right? And now I'm almost 60 episodes in, what I mean? And it's so cool. And I hear other people's stories and I'm like, oh my God. Right.
Yeah.
How how did I feel so bad in my story? But our stories are stories, and they could be completely different, one is so much more horrible than the other, but we all feel the same.
Yeah.
We all feel the same, and we either stay stuck in the pattern because we're used to that. Oh, well, like, I'm just going to be living, in an apartment the rest of my life. I'm just going to, because this is what I'm used to. Or you do become the one of like, okay, I've been through that and I don't like it.
Yeah.
So I don't want that for myself or for my family, because it's not only telling your story, it's also about who's watching you. And these come across the board. Who's watching you on social media? What family members are watching you? And your kids, they're watching you take these actions. These actions are what's really telling the story.
Yeah. And it's funny. It's, the other part of it too is it's so easy with social media nowadays to feel alone. Like, you're more connected than ever, but it's so easy to feel alone because social media makes it look like no one has problems, no one has issues, no one has struggles. Everyone's renting fucking Lamborghinis and it's all this fake facade life. But the reality is, when you and I everyone tells their story and you share your struggles, you share your vulnerabilities, it makes people realize they're not alone. And sometimes that in itself is the most powerful thing you can do, is impact someone's life that maybe thinks they're alone and they're the only loser. They're the only person that struggled with depression. They're the only person that's been homeless. They're the only person in their bubble that struggled, so no one gets it. So where do I turn? But with us doing what we're doing, and the podcast and the things and the stories and the video challenges and all these different things we do, it's for us, but it's for others. Really. Because it just makes people realize life isn't fucking perfect. And you're not alone. You're not alone in your struggle. At the end of the day, someone somewhere is doing what you've dealt with and got past it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's so true. It's so true. Like, there's so many variables that you're going to get hit with, and you're going to wonder why, But then it's hard to explain, because if you're listening, even when you don't think you're listening, but you have like this faith that's always been around you. I didn't put my full knee down to God because of the traumatic experience I was in. I was still stayed spiritual. Was at Lions Den Live last year in the hotel room after Garrett White spoke. I don't know if you were there last year.
That was powerful. That one got me too. That one got me with you. Yes.
And having like Sean in my life was a gift. Like, my girlfriend tagged me in a post of when him and Sax got married, and he made this long post about how Saxony wanted to jump in the pool and how he didn't want to, but he did it for her. And it was such an amazing post. And I was like, who the fuck is this guy?
Right.
And started following him. And I just knew from day one that God speaks through Sean.
Yeah.
And like, God speaks through all of us, you know what I mean? If we're listening and we're willing to hear and share. And I feel like I'm thankful every day that gift was presented in my life, because like, how I was raised, to the surroundings that I had, or what I believed in, here's this guy who's so radical.
Yeah.
And I get judged all the time for like looking up to this radical motherfucker, right?
I've had a few challenges.
Right. But that is such a gift, because now I didn't know my story was going to be impactful. I didn't know sharing it was going to be impactful, or like you said, doing the challenges that he does, like, like, how many push-ups can you do in 2 minutes? People might laugh at that, but it's the consistency of showing up and trying as hard as you can every single day. The point is, how hard are you going to push? Right. And it all teaches us to be stronger and change and like grow and become unrecognizable from a year ago, from 5 years ago to yesterday, you know? And I absolutely agree. Like, I don't know what I would still be doing if I did not invest in myself. It was God saying, here you go. Like, take this, like, take this knowledge, like, and learn from it. And you know, I mean, of course, like I still definitely struggle with a lot of things, you know, especially moving to a new state, starting my clientele all over again.
Yeah.
It's
It's
freaking
funny,
tough.
full transparency, fucking hated Sean.
A lot
Like,
of people do. A lot of people do.
dude, I was like, who is this pompous, arrogant, like what? He was triggering me. He
Yep.
was challenging me. He was like doing the simple shit. I'm like, fuck you. Like, who is this arrogant? Like, okay, yeah, it's super easy for you to do because you have all this money and all these fucking things, right? And it was, I don't remember what post it was that like shifted this mindset in me, but it definitely
Right.
came around the time when he was with Sachs.
Yeah.
Because he shifted. He made a change. You could see a different growth in him that was
Yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah.
okay, I can get behind this stuff. And yeah, I couldn't stand the dude. Couldn't stand the dude
But
at all.
that's, you know, how a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
people see him. You know,
yeah. Oh yeah.
he talks about this all the time. Like, you know, people clown on him and judge him because he has a lot of money, but fuck, like he came from nothing too. Like,
Yep.
you have to come from nothing to get to where you are. And those are the types of people that you want to be around because they came from nothing.
But you're going to learn from them, and that's why, like I said, I align my story with his story in a lot of ways.
Right.
The daddy issues, the childhood traumas, the whatever. And it was like, okay, he's done it. That means I can do more. I
Right.
need to learn from him. I need to pay attention to what he's done because he's done more than I have. He's where I want to get to. And we have the same story. So what did he do? What did he do that I'm not doing? And I want to learn from him. And that's why I say it pissed me off, because it's fucking
Right.
simple. It's simple.
Exactly. And that's why it's going to piss you. That's why it pisses people off, because they want what they don't have. But you can take your mom dying from, similar to Sean almost committing suicide. You know, sometimes
Yeah.
you have to get into that darkness, that bottom of the barrel, to see that shift.
Yeah.
And because sometimes that's the only way that we're going to learn.
Yeah.
Is really truly having everything taken away from us.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not easy. And that's what tests us to be strong, like-minded, strong mindset individuals.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if we don't learn these things out of those darkness and those horrible times, you know, what are we here for?
Yeah.
You know, we're supposed to learn those things. We're supposed to learn what those 1-degree shifts are. That actually is a ripple effect to our whole life story.
It truly is. It's a simple shift sometimes. It's such small things. If you're not paying attention, you'll miss them.
Right.
The Garrett thing at Lions Den Live last year was like wow, and it shifted my mindset. I told you we go to Awaken Church here in San Diego, actually.
Oh yeah, the Waken is here in Draper.
Yeah. So awesome church, and I actually
it is
just got baptized, and that's been another massive shift and all this stuff. And it's just, life is a constant shifting. It's a constant battle. It's a constant shift. It's a constant challenge. And I think if you get stuck in these mindsets of like, poor me and woe is me, and like Sean says, you get stuck in your story, like you'll miss all these great things.
Yeah.
Like the change is scary, but what's more scary is being here in a year and not have any change. Right.
Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people that are like, I've been in here for so long and I haven't done anything yet. And it's like, why? I feel like I haven't even done enough. You know, I've been in here for a year and a half, you know, almost a year and a half. You know, it's like I was in it. 2 months before Lions Den Live, went to Lions Den Live, put God in my heart, started a podcast 7 days later. What else can I do? What else can I do? Hired a nutritionist, hired a coach, hired hormone therapy, doctors, I've done all these things and I still I'm like, that's not enough, but that's okay. We always want to kind of be on that line of that's not enough. Like, what else can I do?
Yeah.
But to always remember to still enjoy our lives and be present in all the moments that we're in with our family, with our friends, and the people that guide us around us. But yeah, so I'm like, I don't want to be that person that's been in the den for a long time and has done nothing.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that person.
I have the same feeling as you, though. I'm like, God, I haven't really done anything, but I've done so much. But it's like, I need to be farther. I need to be farther. I need to be farther. I need to get better. I need to keep challenging. I keep doing these things. But it's like, I've come so far from just a year ago.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Right.
My wife.
Sean says it all the time still. He's like, I need to do more. I need to do this. Like, I need to, like Dan Fleischman, Ed Milet, like all those guys that are up in the timelines of like who we look up to are still battle with those things.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing to battle with. It's just like God has put us here to do even more things. And it's just, we have to sit back and listen of like, okay, what is it that you want us to do? I think he even made a post about it today of, you ask God to put challenging things in your life and boy, he gonna give it to you.
Yep.
He gonna give it to you.
It's interesting. Last night, the pastor said something that kind of stuck with me. He said, everyone's always waiting for God to give them the green light. Always looking for God to give us our purpose or give us a green light. Why do you wait for the green light? You should be pushing until you receive a red light. And then you sit and listen to God for your next direction. And then you push. And I was like, that's interesting because
that's good.
You kind of do. You pray like, okay, God, give me direction. Well, why do you wait for direction? Keep pushing until he tells you to sit and listen. And then you sit and listen and then you push again. It was really interesting, like different mindset. I was like, that's a really good one. I'm going to use that one.
Damn, that is really good.
Good.
That is really good. I went to the Awakened Church here when Scott and Ann Travis spoke at that sermon. And I was like, throughout not going to church, because like church is outside, man. You know what I mean? Listening to Sean is like going to church. Going to Lions Den Live is fucking church to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so I have trying to go through two churches throughout my life. And it's like the same thing. Like I had a pastor that was like, you should only be friends with Christians. And I was like, are you serious? I come to church and this is what he's talking about. Like, that's no joke. That is straight up what he said. And I'm like, Jesus loved everybody.
Yeah.
Jesus loved everybody. That's what you're supposed to, do. And so, I was a little hesitant to go to Awakened Church, but at the same time, that's literally, they're just all about love and compassion and being passionate about helping others learn to hear God and teach them how to listen.
They're really good. I really
believe that. It's a great church.
They're really good about, so I'm the same way with church. Like I was like, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not like, I don't want to hear your judgmental sermons. I don't want to like, I just, same thing. I couldn't get it.
Right.
Awakened Church. It's like I found my people. Like it was like, it's like going to a Lions Den event. Like, same purpose, same energy. And they're very good. The lead pastor is very good about teaching the Bible. That's it. Not opinions or miscued interpretations. Like it's the Bible and here's how it relates. God didn't stop miracles when the Bible got done writing. There's still miracles to be had. You can still pray. You have authority to demand things in your life and ask God of things. Like, so it's been a very different mind shift for me when it comes to church. It's like I have the authority to pray over my life. That's what I was given. I have authority to pray for things in my life. I have authority to ask. And it's a very cool church. I'm not going to get off on a tangent on the church, but
no, it is really cool. It's like it's such a different experience. Like you're like, oh dude, like I was amazed. I mean, I haven't been back, but I need to, like, because I get in my head of like, this is my Sunday, like finally not like I don't have to do anything, but
I hear you on that one.
You know, it's like, okay, Brittany, well, how about you go once a month? You know what I mean? Once a month. So, but
That's
yeah,
what it was.
they do something very, very different than any other organized religion does. And I don't even feel like they're an organized religion. They're just people that love God, man. They're just people that, you know, speak the truth, be raw, realistic, and vulnerable, and very transparent of like how real life is. Not being like, oh, you're gonna be okay, honey, because God's with you. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I grew up. Like, you can do whatever you want. You can fuck up. You can do all these things because, you know, God's going to forgive you of your sins. And you're like, what is that teaching me?
Yeah.
How am I learning how to have him in my life if I'm just only hearing about, you know, whatever you do, he's just going to forgive you for your sins? Like, absolutely, he is, you know, but at the same time, like,
You got to repent of them and change your ways. And yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
There was Awaken does a lot of good events. They do a men's event. So they have a big ass ranch here in San Diego actually. And they do a
Oh, that's
men's
cool.
event once a year where all of the men from Boise and
Oh,
Salt Lake we all come together and we literally battle each other.
amazing.
Like battle each other, like tug of wars and truck pulls and tire, like this crazy weekend of battling. And
Being
Davis,
masculine.
they're huge on the man of the house is masculine. The man of the house leads the home, and like they're
Yeah.
very big on inspiring men to be masculine. Like,
Right.
you're supposed to be a dude. Like, that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I went to that event, and they have this thing called a burden board, and I think we're running long, but
Okay.
you when you get there, I didn't know anyone. I knew one person in the whole entire church, so it was like a big leap for me to even like go to this event. But they give you this 2x4, and they tell you to write all of your burdens on this 2x4. And I'm like, what do you mean burdens? They're like, what do you struggle with? Pornography, lust,
Mm.
um, whatever it is,
Right.
language, attitude. And I'm sitting there and look at this 2x4. And I'm looking at like these 50 dudes on my team. I'm like, I know none of you, and I'm supposed to just pour my dirty laundry into just like what? Right? And then not only do you have to write on your board, they give you a rope and you got to wear it like a backpack the
Oh,
entire weekend.
oh my God.
You walk everywhere, you do everything, and you have to wear this board of burdens.
Holy shit.
And
Kind
I'm
of
like,
fascinating.
I'm like writing on this board. I'm like kind of like looking around, like, dude, what? So I put some stuff on it and I put my board on, and we're walking, and I'm walking around. I'm reading these guys' boards like, fuck, I got that one too. And I was just adding to my board all weekend, but it was like this humbling
Oh,
experience. Like what
interesting.
I'm talking about, to see all of these men struggling with the same burden, struggling with cussing and anger and resentment or self-doubt and all these crazy things. And it was like all of us men were just ripped open.
Right.
It gave me permission to be vulnerable and realize I'm not alone. It was another lesson in your story is your story because you're not alone in your struggle.
Right.
But they do this thing, and the whole premise is you're going to burn this board, and we have a prayer thing around this fire, and you burn the board, and they tell you whatever you don't put on this board, you're taking home with you. So make sure you put it all on there, right?
Yes.
And you're
Yes.
wearing this thing, and it's like it's weird because you can physically feel your burdens. You can
Right.
physically feel how uncomfortable these burdens are, and after 48 hours, you're like, this thing fucking sucks, right?
This
And
is so interesting.
you go into this, and it's just your group, and they have like team leads, and you go up to one of the team leads and you hand the team lead your board, and he reads everything on your board. And this is a dude that's one of the main dudes in the church I'm going to go to on Sunday, right? Like he just learned everything he needs to know about who I am. And they say a prayer over you, and then you throw the wood in the fire. And I remember handing this guy my board, and I'm like, this is 42 years of burden that I've carried by myself because I refuse to ask God for help.
Right.
This is me taking my knee. This is me saying, God, I can't carry these anymore. I'm so tired.
Yes.
I need you. I need your help. And it was like, you take this board off and you throw it in the fire and you sit there and watch your burdens burn. And it was like, in that moment, the relief of no more burdens on my back. I was like free, shoulders could move. And it was like this overwhelming, just like, I got it. Now I know why I came here. I came here to find you. I need you to go far. I need you in my life to make that next step. And it was like, that was my shift in my faith.
Wow.
I literally came home. I was like, and it's the one thing I took from that is I didn't have a dad.
Right.
And they say that men that don't have fathers tend to be used more in guiding people. But in order to be a guide or a coach or a thing, I needed to learn how to be a son before I could be a father.
Ooh.
I learned how to be a son to God before I can be a father or a coach to anyone. And it's like,
oh my gosh,
it's been like this massive, like second gear. Like it's just another shift. It's another step. It's another thing. And I, like you said, I share with people so much because I'm like, I want you to have what I have.
Right.
I want you to experience this. I want you to come with me. I want you to like have this joy and have these things and be in this place of like, I don't want to do anything without my wife. Like, I love my wife. I love my kid. I love my, like, I am telling you these things because I want you to have it.
Yeah. That is, I'm like, I am so taken away. My breath is taken away by that. Like, I'm so glad you shared that because that is so real, and it's just, everybody thinks that we're so alone struggling with this one thing when everybody is struggling with that, especially with men and their masculinity. That is a whole another, yeah. And so when there are male gatherings to be a man and feel secure being masculine around other men, I absolutely applaud anybody who puts those kinds of events together because they are so powerful.
It was like 3,000 dudes.
Wow.
Firefighters, military dudes,
wow.
Navy SEALs, like all of it. And we're all wearing this board. It was like I said, it made you realize again, you're not alone, which is why I encourage people now to share. Just share.
Absolutely.
And I do it. I pour it. Like we started the interview with me like mom died, wife's been raped, all these crazy things, but because I want you to realize where I'm coming from. It's going to be open, it's going to be real because I got to help someone.
Yeah, we got to help some. And that's the thing. It's like, if I help one person not die today, that's amazing. It's like this, it reminds me of, and I hope Saxony does another women's event. I think she's going to
Me
do.
too. I want my wife to go.
I don't know if I know she knows how powerful it is. I know she does. But like, if she had testimonials from like all the women that were there, like everyone that went to that event, it was one of the best events I have ever been to in my life. And I was still holding back so much when I think about it, because I was just like, oh my God, like I'm learning like what femininity is and like being yourself. I'm learning like what boundaries are. I'm learning, what sexual like chemistry is and all these things that are so important for yourself and for your partner or your future partner, of just like being so like torn open. And, we did breath work with Jen and like so many people came out of that. It was so crazy because when the breath work was going on, you were so like, I get really uncomfortable with certain things. And that's just like my childhood. And I've been breaking through that like every single day since that event or Lions Den Live. But that event, like you hear these women when they're in breath work, just moaning and crying and screaming. And you're like, what the fuck is going on? And I was like, I had an ego, like, I know how to do this. I know how to breathe. Like, you know what I mean? And then I finally let go. My whole body was like shaking and just, I was crying. And then you go into it thinking you're going to get something else, just like we were talking about the coaching group. And I came out of it as like, holy shit, man, I'm enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's
then
powerful.
it's, it's like,
That's
I'm
powerful.
enough. I
That's
don't
a powerful
need to
statement.
be somebody else to get what I want. I am enough for me.
Yep.
And my girlfriend Kay, who was there, we met at the event, and she, after everyone was awake, she was still like totally somewhere else for 20 minutes, dude. Like, we kept putting our hands on her just to make sure she was okay. And when she came out of that, she was like, I was talking to God. And we were just like, oh, it was so transformational. I think I said that wrong, but who gives a fuck? But, and then the next day was even more powerful, because then you have these women that just went through all these things with their men, or just the men that were going to that event that day. And it was like, it made the men get torn open too, because of what we experienced. And like that day, I was like, I can't be quiet today, and I had to stand up in front of everybody. And Sean was like, what have you never told anybody? I'm like, what? Like, I've told everybody everything, dude. Like, what do you, he's like, nah, no, nah. So I had to talk about like my sexual trauma in front of 60 people.
Wow.
But I've been able to talk about it now, and I share this story, and it's like, that's the other thing too, when God opens you up to life and experiences and things that you get to be a part of, then you have another story to tell. You have something else to share. And like, I feel the emotion like right now. I mean, there was a guy that came up to me. He's like, Brittany, I grew up like that. I feel that. I still feel that way around my wife, and I was like, oh my God, and again, just like, the burn, whatever, I think, what is it called?
Burden burning.
Yeah. That's exactly what that is. You're wearing that to show others that they are not alone in all these things. And it's just a beautiful thing to be a witness. It's a beautiful thing to feel like this is your family. And that's what, Sean has created. He created a family. That's what Awakened Church has created. They have created a family where it's non-judgmental, because you find a lot in religion or, any kind of church, you get judged the fuck out of, like, oh my God, your hair is pink, and oh my God, you're not a virgin anymore. That was my experience.
On the weekends? Oh yeah.
Dude, right? You're just like, and God never judged, like Jesus never judged, like, you know what I mean? And that's what life is about. Like, this is why we're here. This is what life is about, to share these things, that you're not alone, that you can have whatever you want, but be a part of something, find your community. And that's like, I have you and like everybody on my podcast for someone to listen, and Travis becomes their community, like I become someone's community, Sean becomes someone's community, like everyone else I have, like, I want people to know that you could listen to 60 episodes of that I have and find your community somewhere, that we all want to help you, even though we're still helping ourselves, we're still like coming out of the cocoon and becoming this butterfly and this butterfly and this butterfly, and our colors are changing through the seasons, and what's going to come our way and how we're going to get out of that. And it's a really cool experience to be spiritually connected in that way, through two people. It started with two people, for me personally, which was Sean and Saxony, and then I've gotten to experience other people through that. And it's just like, that is the coolest fucking thing, I think. I mean, it's amazing. And what have you connected with, going to Awakened Church and being part of this community of men, and like, okay, I get to teach that in another way to my kids, or, come home with that to my wife, or talk about it in a podcast, or like we're talking about now.
That's my wife, like you talk about the journey of the sexual stuff and breath works, and like, that's all her. Like, she's literally that person. Like, I was so bummed that I missed the Saxony one. I was like, dude, I begged, I'm always hitting them up like, when are you going to do it again? I'm sending my wife, when are you going to do it again? Because my wife's totally that person. Like she's totally, hormones. She's natural path on hormones
Oh
and
man.
cleanses and all the traumas. And she had body dysmorphia and bulimic and
Wow.
all the woman stuff, right? All the
Yeah.
crazy stuff. And she's been sharing her story, and it's the same thing. Like these women are following her because they're like so empowered by her story, and they're like, you get it, you understand, you're raw, you're real, you tell us what you deal with. And dude, it's everyone's
Yeah.
story is very powerful. Like it's
Yeah. And what's the repetitive thing, like you guys listening right now, what is the repetitive thing that I have been saying for a year is, being raw, like telling your truth, telling your story will change you. It will change you. Like all these people, including myself, who have shared this platform with me, have chose to share their story, and how when you share the story, you get to take off that backpack and leave it in the rear view mirror.
That's why I
And
have
grow
no
from it.
problem telling it. I have no problem saying it because every time I tell it, it's just another therapy for me. Like it's,
think of it as like you're wearing this backpack your whole life. You still get to use it, but instead of wearing it, plant it into the ground and grow from that, grow that beautiful tree that has limbs of other, stories and teachings and lessons and, of life and love and just everything that comes with those things that you don't have to wear them. And when you learn that you can have God in that too, he helps you not be able to wear those too, because he will wear them for you and, and all these things. And it's just, I mean, I have no words. It's just it's a beautiful experience.
Yeah, I agree.
To be in all these things. And, I am definitely going to, I don't actually go out of my way to tell Sean and Sachs, hey, will you listen to this episode? But I'm going to share this podcast because it's kind of like us telling our stories behind them. Of how they pulled us to this place that we're in right now. And I think it's something beautiful to share. And I'm excited to see what you guys do in your future. I would love to, connect with your wife and hear what she has to say. And I think you guys are already thinking it in the audience that I need to have his wife on too.
She's got a powerful story.
You know what I mean? And like, I definitely want that. I feel like we're all connected here and I don't want anyone to feel like they can't reach out.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
you go to Lions Den live?
Sure am, you guys. So Lions Den Live is happening in September. He will be letting those tickets go to all the past members. But just write this down. There is a possibility that he might be giving some tickets away to the public. It is a life-changing experience. If you want your life to change, maybe have an opportunity. If you don't know how to get a ticket, maybe someone in the Lions Den will get you one. Just saying, it'll change your life. Yeah. So again, Travis, this was so like, this was amazing. And I feel like we could talk for hours, just like getting so deep and just connecting with people. But what are the, top 3 to 5 things that you want to end this call with, of those tips that you can give to somebody of how to connect with themselves, let go of the past, and move forward to becoming the one?
I think the biggest thing that I've learned in life, and this isn't just because recently called, but you're going to be judged no matter what you do. At the end of the day, your story is your story and it has power to someone, and those that judge you don't deserve to be part of your story. Always tell your truth. As long as you're telling your truth, honest, without ill intent, how that person receives their truth is their fucking problem.
Oh, God, that's good.
Never stop telling your truth.
That's so good.
And at the end of the day, if you lead with love, you'll never be wrong. You don't know what the person's been dealing with. You don't know what the cashier's day was. You don't know the person that cut you. You don't know any of that shit.
Right.
As soon as you allow someone else to dictate your emotions, you've given up control of your life. Lead with love and you'll never be wrong.
That's so powerful. That's so powerful. That is very powerful. And I love, because I think that's, why I have gotten to where I was going, because I've always lead my life with love. But in my past self, I let people dictate how that was. And sometimes it still happens. I mean, we're human, right? But the power in that is when you're leading your life with love, that love will block those dictations of how they want to control you. And it's learning for those things not to control you and just keep on the path. It's a very, very powerful message. I hope that you guys wrote down a ton of things in here. I hope we have shed light on you guys. I think there's a lot of light that was in this particular interview. This is a very powerful interview. And you guys, everything that how you guys can connect to us is always going to be on my Instagram page. It is always going to be linked in the little description box here on YouTube. Awesome. And on the, podcast platforms. Please reach out. The one thing that you can do is not be afraid to send a text message, which is a message in our Dropbox on Facebook or Instagram, or now this thread thing,
I haven't even looked.
Just don't be afraid to write that message, because you get to control what comes next, because you're changing your life. So Travis, man, thank you so much. I really appreciate this call. There are sometimes not going to be honest. I'm just it's almost like this whole energetic shift comes over me. Okay. I have to be in this moment to be here. And then something else shifts in me. And it's this, I get light from this. I get love from this. And it's just
that was good.
And then I love that. I know you guys, you're sick of it or not. I don't care. But yes, a lot of these people are in the Lion's Den that come on here because we're family. Yep. And I'm so excited to meet all these people in person, to see all these people at Lions. I am so excited. I'm so excited to meet you and your wife in September. Good. And just God bless you for coming on here. I'm so appreciative, and keep going. Just keep going.
I appreciate you letting me come on. I do. It means a lot.
Yeah. Same. Well, you guys have a great Monday, because this is when you guys are listening, or other days. But just have an amazing week. Start your week off right. Start today off right. And change now. Right. Plant that seed now. So thank you so much, Travis. Have a wonderful day.
You too.